Foot.
Okay, so Geordie's been learning different sounds that end with this sound. What's this again? Very good. So we've been looking at word endings. Can you have a go at saying this?
Saw.
Again?
Saw.
Look again.
Saw.
Does it begin with s?
Yeah.
Look at this first sound. That's better.
He.
It is.
S.
Good. Good. Us. Good. Right. So we've had then a go at looking at these words and having a go at saying the words, putting the sounds together. Can you tell me what this one was?
Mess.
Very, very good. And this one?
Miss.
Very good. See if you could try this one.
Half.
Look.
Half.
Look at this sound.
Sheath.
This, yes. And let's try a trickier one. This one?
First.
Very good. And this one?
Wins.
What's the first sound?
First.
What's that sound? It doesn't begin with
Dr.
dr. Look. Dre.
Dress.
That's it. Dress. Very good. I like. What's the next word? To play.
Yeah.
We haven't had this word yet. Play.
Play.
Yeah. What's this word?
In the.
I like to play in the. Where would you play?
On the garden.
So which word says garden?
Garden here.
Can you figure out which?
This week we learned about coordinates.
And what did you learn about coordinates?
We learned these lines.
Can you remember the name of the lines again?
It was axis.
Fantastic. So we learnt about the axes. We revised about the axes. And what did you have to learn about the axes and using coordinates? What do we call it when we move one shape to another place?
We call it.
See if you can find the word down there at the bottom of the page. It's in the orange.
In the orange.
When you move one shape to another shape to another place on a grid using coordinates.
It is new coordinate.
We call it translation. Okay? Where you would say you move it 3 squares to the right or left or up to 2 squares up, 2 squares down. That's called translation, okay?
Yeah.
And what do we call it when you have a shape and you draw an identical shape on the opposite side? Reflection. Okay, like as in a mirror. Okay, so we did look at coordinates and you learnt how to do translation of shapes.
Yes, and then we done this order coordinates.
Right, and did you learn anything new with doing this? You learnt how to
translate them.
How to translate them and write down the new coordinates.
Yes.
After following the instructions of moving it. Then, after doing that page,
we done bar charts and pictograms.
You looked at data handling, and with that, you focused on looking at bar charts and reading and understanding how a bar chart worked. And then you looked at pictograms. Can you tell me a bit about pictograms, what you need to know?
Pictograms, it was like the like types of films, and then here is the key.
So
put one dot, and then it puts the films.
Is the key going to be the same all the time?
Yes.
With pictograms?
No,
because what can they change the key to? What could the dot represent? What could you change it to make a difference?
To change the number.
You can change the number. What else could the number be?
Like 4.
It could be 4. We've had pictograms where we've had that as 4, or it could be 1, And it makes a difference because it changes how you would read the numbers of the information collected. Good. Right. Then what else did you do this week?
We done as well line graphs.
Okay, so you did a bit more work on pictograms. Then you focused on line graphs. What is it that you had to be challenged on with this line graph? What was the work you did here?
Looking at the line graph.
And what was it in the line graph that you had to look at? You had to look at what was the name of the axes? What was this about?
The time, and this was the temperature.
Temperature. Good. And what's it measured in? Can you remember that temperature?
No.
Degrees Celsius.
Degrees Celsius.
Okay, so we looked at degrees Celsius. So what sort of question could you answer based on what you did? If it was 24 Celsius, can you find 24 Celsius? What time was it?
11 o'clock a.m.
Okay, so it was 11 in the morning. If it was 9 a.m., what temperature was it?
18 degrees
Celsius. Good. All right. So you actually learnt how to read the line graph quite well.
And this will be done grammar of commas.
Using commas?
Yes.
Okay. And in what way did you use commas in your sentences?
About sentences.
Okay, so in your sentences, how would the commas help you?
It was like, here was, my neighbor's dog is called Sam, and then here you had to write like a description.
Right. So when you have commas used in this way and you've got a middle bit missing, that means that you have to add more information about the first part. Yeah. So can you give me the sentence that says my brother? Can you read that for me?
My brother is 12, doesn't like pizza for tea.
Okay, so your extra information was?
That he was 12.
Okay, so without that, the sentence would still make sense because you would say, my brother likes pizza for tea. But what you've done is you've added a bit more information about who the brother is and what he's like. So it's not needed. It's an extra piece of information, but it makes the sentence more interesting. Yeah. It extends the sentence. Would you like to give us another example of how it works?
Our cat is tiny, sleeps on my bed.
Okay, our cat, who is tiny, sleeps on our bed. Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. So what did you learn in maths this week?
The translation and reflections.
Of shapes.
Of shapes.
So can you explain what translation of shapes is?
The translation is when you move the same shape but to another place.
Within where? What's this called? Within a...
With coordinations.
Within a quadrant, okay? So a quadrant is where you have two axes and you would have to move the shape with new coordinates and directions, okay? So you might say move 2 squares or 3 squares.
Yeah.
In what direction? Okay, so you've done that, and then what did you move on to do?
The problems with coordinations and reflections.
So you worked out some problems with reflection and coordinates. You worked out some problems with translation, translating shapes to a new place on the, what's this called again? Quadrant, okay? So you've done that. And then what did you focus on next?
And then the reflection.
So you looked at reflection. Good. And what is reflection? What does it mean in this case?
It means that you put the same shape in the other one.
In the opposite quadrant.
Yeah.
In the negative quadrant. And you used, and what did you have to write after doing that?
The new coordinates.
The new coordinates. Okay, so you had to write the new coordinates. And what did you notice about the new coordinates that you had to write sometimes?
You have to put minus.
Negative numbers, okay? Good. Did you move on from doing something else in coordinates using that? You had to draw your own 2 quadrants then, following instructions.
There was the triangle.
Okay, so you did this with with the instructions and you carried it out in your notebook.
Yeah.
That's what you created. Okay, and you came up with a triangle.
Yeah.
Then what did you do the rest of this week in maths?
Then we done the temperature.
Okay, when you're doing the temperature, what is this based on that you had to do?
The graphs and the temperature.
So when we look at graphs, do you know what area of maths that is we looked at this week? Data handling, wasn't it?
Yeah, data handling.
So we had to look at data handling. And with data handling, we looked at charts, we looked at tables, how you would record information. Yes? And with that, let's have a look. We looked at this. What sort of graph is this? Do you know?
This is a temperature graph.
What do we actually call this graph that has a line in it? There's a clue. It's got a line in it. It's called a line graph, yeah? And you had to answer the questions based on this line graph. Could you tell me at what the temperature was at 11 a.m. in the morning?
At 11 a.m. it was 26 degrees
Celsius. Good. And what was the temperature at 9 p.m.?
It was 25 degrees.
So at 9 p.m. it was 25 degrees. Okay. You sure? 9 p.m. Let's just double check. About 20? Yeah? Did you get? You sure? Yeah. Okay. Then what did you have to do after that?
After we had to do making the own graph.
So you created your own graph. And how did you go about creating your own graph? What did you have to do?
Here it said that they at 0 it was 20, so you got 20 and the bottom 0 and you put a dot. Then at 2 in the morning it was 19 degrees, so you put it here.
Okay. What would you have to do once you've plotted the points? What would you think the next step is that you'd have to do?
The line.
Yep, so you'd have to join the points together using one single line, okay? But that's what you would do after you plotted the points. So you plotted the points, you got that information across, but then you'd need to make sure you do the line as well. Okay. What else did you do after you've done that? You went on to doing something else. Did you do something else with this page?
I had to do the rupees.
So you looked at, you learnt what rupees are. Where would you use rupees? Which country?
In China.
Not China.
India.
India. Okay, so you looked at rupees compared to £2. So this is a sort of currency. It says that 1 rupee is equivalent to, £1 is equivalent to 80 rupees, okay? And we learned there's a pattern here. So we learned that that's 80, 160, 240. What's the next one going to be?
320.
Yep. And why did you work that out? Why did you know that was 320? What gave you the clue?
Because it was the 8 times table.
It was within the 8 times table. Good. So you worked that out and you were able to find the pattern. Then you had to plot, then you had to create your chart, complete your chart up to £10 and solve how many rupees there would be up to £10. Then you had to create your table and you did that. You then plotted your points, am I right? Yeah. Then what do you have to do with this in the end?
Join them.
Yeah, so you do need to join that. That's one of the important things that you need to do to finish that off. But you got that far. Were you able to answer the questions based on that? Were there any questions based on that? Can you give me an example?
How many £3? How much rupees could it be?
So you had to translate how many rupees would be the equivalent of £3.
Yeah.
And how many were the same as £3? How many rupees were the same as £3? How many rupees were the same as £3?
240.
Good. What did you learn in grammar this week?
The commas.
Okay, so tell me how you use the commas in this case, because we can use the commas in so many different ways. What way did you use the commas this time?
To finish sentences.
So not to finish sentences, but to separate parts of a sentence, okay?
Yeah.
So give me an example.
During the winter, we stay in after the tea.
So where would you use the comma there?
In the winter.
So during the winter, comma, we would stay in doing our homework, doing our activity. Yes?
No, this in
after tea. So during the winter, comma, we stay in after tea. Give me an example of a sentence you created using the comma.
Well,
So what you had to do here was you had a half a sentence and a comma, and you had to think what would be. You had to think what would be a good idea to finish the sentence.
yeah. During the night, comma, the owl shouted.
Okay, so during the night the owl shouted. Yeah, so you put a comma to separate. During the night tells you it's an adverbial, tells you when the event took place, and the actual event is the owl shouted. Okay, could you give me an example of one of those sentences that you could use, let's say now?
With a comma.
Yes. So if I give you a word, after
recording, comma, we'll go to play.
Exactly. So what's the event?
Play.
Going to play. And what's the adverbial sentence?
After the camera.
After recording. Good. Can you tell me what the nucleus does?
It controls all the functions of the cell.
Okay, and what is a nucleus?
The nucleus is the center one, and the one that is the power from the family.
It's most important, okay? It's the most important part of the cell, okay? Nucleus is something that's always at the center. So, can you tell me then what the cell wall does?
It protects all the family.
It protects all the cell, okay? It protects the cell. What does a cell membrane do?
It protects the things that goes inside and out.
So it allows some things to go in or out of the cell,
yes.
Okay? Can you tell me what the vacuole is?
The vacuole inside it has minerals and water.
So it helps feed the plant basically, okay?
Yes.
It's where a lot of the store for the plants are to help feed the plants. Can you tell me what the cytoplasm does?
It's the cytoplasm.
Cytoplasm?
It's where all the sun grows.
It's where the start of photosynthesis happens. So it's where much of the change of the plant's chemicals happen, okay? It's, what can you describe it as, cytoplasm?
Like the further. You can describe it about jelly.
It's a bit like jelly. It's a jelly-like substance. And what do the chloroplasts do?
The chloroplasts get all the sun in the sun.
So that's, the chloroplasts are where the food is made, okay, for the plant. And what do we call that chemical that is made also?
The chlorophyll.
Chlorophyll. What colour does that make the plants go if it's healthy?
Green.
Green, good. You would know that if a plant is not being fed well enough, what colour would the leaves look like? Brown or yellow, yeah. That tells you that it's not getting enough sunlight, and that would mean that the cells in the plant are dying. Yeah?